Committee.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the second supplementary estimates for financial year 2023-2024, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 4th June 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution and Standing Order 243-1, approves an increment of the total current expenditure for financial year 23-24 by Kenya shillings 51 billion 113 million 484,433 in respect of the votes as contained in the first schedule. 2, approves a decrease of the total capital expenditure for financial year 2023-2024 by Kenya shillings 75 billion 290 billion 535,117 in respect of the vote as contained in the first schedule. 3, approves an overall decrease in the total budget for financial year 2023-2024 by Kenya shillings 24 billion 117 million 50,684 shillings in respect of the votes as contained in the first schedule. And 5, approves Kenya shillings 23 billion 666 billion. Let me repeat, Honourable Speaker. Number 4, approves Kenya shillings 23 billion 667 million 17,803 spent under Article 223 of the Constitution in respect of the votes outlined in the third schedule. And 5, resolves that the first schedule forms the basis for the introduction of the Supplementary Appropriations Bill 2024. Honourable Speaker, I just wish to highlight a few things to members. And as I do so, I want to thank this House because we have been very busy for the last 2 weeks in what was to be a recess. Honourable Speaker, most of these members have been working long hours to see this process come through, Honourable Speaker. I also want to thank the members of the Budget and Appropriations Committee because besides the consideration of Supplementary 2, which we will be currently debating, alongside we've been considering the main estimates for the year 2024-2025, and at the same time, the mediation process in the, with the Senate has been ongoing, and at the same time, consideration of the division of revenue, which necessitated the mediation, Honourable Speaker, and also equalization fund. And therefore, it has been a very, very, very busy period, Honourable Speaker, and I want to thank all the members, and especially those members in the departmental committees for doing a very thorough job. Honourable Speaker, the essence of Supplementary 2, and it is usually said that supplementary budget could be a reference of something that could have been done better. And Honourable Speaker, whereas I agree, I have also noted through the time we've been serving in the Budget and Appropriations Committee that dynamics in the economy necessitate even a supplementary estimates, like the one we are doing at the wee hours of the financial year. And Honourable Speaker, this happens because economies are not static. Economies are dynamic in nature. The variables that then make the economy, Honourable Speaker, they are all moving vehicles, they are more moving targets. And for that reason, Honourable Speaker, these supplementary estimates too is seeking to align the government financials as we close the financial year to be at a tidy state, to be at a level where the revenues that were projected, which are now almost reality, will now be incorporated as we make the supplementary. And that is why, Honourable Speaker, the essence of this supplementary, the sum, the total sum of it is negative. The total sum of the supplementary 2 is that we are reducing the expenditure by 24 billion. Why are we reducing expenditure, Honourable Speaker? Honourable Speaker, Kenya being a very optimistic country, and being with people who are high achievers, we always set our targets based on our norms. And therefore, our revenue targets, Honorable Speaker, sometime conform with our norm of being optimistic, but then close to the close of the financial year, then we realized we needed to moderate our optimism towards realism, Honorable Speaker. And that is why we are descending from the previous figure by 24 billion in the reality of the fact that the estimates in terms of revenue that we had at the beginning of the year were a bit optimistic. But, Honorable Speaker, that is not to say that we are not performing in terms of revenue. We are performing as a country with a double-digit growth in revenue, only that we projected to correct much more, and therefore we had overstretched our targets. Honorable Speaker, there are some few areas, even as we take up the financials, that we have been working on. One, Honorable Speaker, is the area of CFS. Members, if you check in the order paper that we have, you realize that one of the areas that is having a reduction is the Consolidated Fund Services, Honorable Speaker. And if members remember in Supplementary 1, it is the same area that actually had an increment. Why CFS? Honorable Speaker, by the time we were considering Supplementary 1, Kenya shillings to the USD was going to close to 180 Kenya shillings to the greenback. Honorable Speaker, in regards to the other currencies, Kenya was decimated. But the current situation, Honorable Speaker, in the consideration of estimates 2, Supplementary 2, Honorable Speaker, Kenya shillings to the greenback is just around 130 shillings. And the interest rates also, globally and locally, are beginning to respond to the macro improvement in the macro parameters. And in that respect, CFS forms the huge bulk of, interest rates forms the huge bulk of CFS. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, it was important that we align the current realities of the payment of interest rates in regards to the current dynamics, which is an appreciation in the Kenya shillings and also other favorable dynamics in the money market, and especially in terms of the exchange rate. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, it was important that we make this Supplementary 2 so that our payment of interest rates is taking care of the gain in terms of our local currency and the other dynamics around interest rates. But even having said that, Honorable Speaker, there are also some other sectors that we have deemed are important for enhancement, even as we come to the close of the financial year. Honorable Speaker, one of those areas is education, where in this Supplementary 2, higher education is actually gaining 4 billion shillings. But, Honorable Speaker, this is majorly appropriations in aid, because our universities have been able to collect much more A&A than was projected at the beginning of the financial year. And, Honorable Speaker, that's something we may actually need a discussion, because every time we are in a budget cycle, even like now, we see there is a lot of incentive for the MDAs to budget for A&A that is much less than what they usually collect. Honorable Speaker, possibly that is an area that we may also need to talk about, though we have put it in our recommendations, Honorable Speaker, and especially for the main budget. Honorable Speaker, another area that has had increment is the security sector. And, Honorable Speaker, this is based on the realities of our country. Honorable Speaker, we have been able to add a little more money to the police service, National Police Service, and also all the other agencies insofar as security is concerned, because it is important that we capacitate them even as we close the year, and especially to take care of things that have already been spent under Article 223. The other thing that is important for members to note, in this Supplementary 2, we have added Kenya shillings 4 billion in terms of fertilizer subsidy, because, Honorable Speaker, agriculture is the backbone of our country. However much we are making policies to move towards having agriculture account for much less in terms of GDP, the reality is that we are still there. The reality is that Kenya is more agrarian than industrial. And in that respect, Honorable Speaker, the program that we've been running in terms of fertilizer subsidy. We have seen a lot of results in the previous months, Honorable Speaker, and therefore it was important, even as we move through seasons, that we have enough fertilizer for the farmers so that, Honorable Speaker, we capacitate them to produce more and also make agriculture a favorable and profitable business, and especially by subsidizing inputs. Honorable Speaker, there were some areas that were left out in the last budget cycle insofar as paying sugarcane farmers is concerned, and especially those who have supplied sugarcane in public sugar factories, Honorable Speaker. We have also input that balance in this supplementary so that the sugar farmers of this country can get their dues, Honorable Speaker, and especially the arrears that are due to them. Honorable Speaker, maybe there are two so that other members can also take a point, can also get a chance. Honorable Speaker, in Kenya, when it rains, we get blessings in many respects. But also in terms of the recent rains, Honorable Speaker, we have had to expend public resources in terms of mitigation of the damage caused by the El Nino. And I want to assure honorable members that we have also incorporated the expenditure, both at Article 223 and the requirements for the remaining part of the financial year in these supplementary estimates, Honorable Speaker, so that we can be able to support those who were the victims of the floods. And in that, Honorable Speaker, I also want to make it very clear that the Budget and Appropriations Committee in this House, our proposal is that because some of the people who were victims of these calamities, their livelihoods were destroyed. Honorable Speaker, I got a chance to go to Naivasha, where we got a very massive landslide and floods, Honorable Speaker. I also went to Mathioya in Muranga, where the people suffered the same. I have also been to Tana River, Honorable Speaker, and saw the kind of havoc that the victims of these floods and excessive rains are going through. Our proposal, Honorable Speaker, in terms of also allocation, is that besides the government giving food ratios to those who are affected, that the government must move forward, Honorable Speaker, and get these people resettled to other more favorable land, Honorable Speaker. A place like Naivasha, where there was a landslide, those families can no longer go back to those areas. And Honorable Speaker, it behoves of the government to assist its people at those kind of situations. And that is why, in consultation with the executive, Honorable Speaker, we have been able to provision monies to be used for the resettlement of the people who are affected by the floods and the excessive rains, Honorable Speaker, so that they can get comfort by not being resettled back in areas that are impossible to live in, Honorable Speaker. The other issue is that when we get rains, Kenya being practicing agriculture that is rain-fed, Honorable Speaker, also, our livestock also get what they need to produce more milk. And therefore, we usually have a glut and overproduction in terms of milk. And that is the reason why we have given UKCC some resources for mopping up of milk during this time of overproduction. And we have given them money in two ways. One, for mopping out of the excess raw milk, but also number two, money for modernization of their factories so that they can start producing powdered milk effectively and in a manner that is cost effective. The current machinery that they have, Honorable Speaker, and the current technology they deploy in terms of making powdered milk is not efficient. It therefore ends up producing milk that then becomes uncompetitive comparative to other milk-producing countries, Honorable Speaker. And we have done that because we know that we need to support our milk farmers, as we need to support our sugar farmers, as we need to support our coffee farmers, our tea farmers, and that is reflected in the estimates. Honorable Speaker, maybe lastly, Parliament, many times people confuse Parliament with members of Parliament. Parliament is an institution. and Parliament is the cornerstone of democracy. Honorable Speaker, in terms of the rule of a modern state, rule of law is important, democracy is important, but also an efficient bureaucracy is important. And in that respect, Honorable Speaker, looking at Parliament, there has been arrears for the drivers and bodyguards who work here in Parliament, Honorable Speaker. From January, they have not been able to get their dues. Honorable Speaker, I want to confirm that you have put in enough resources to pay the drivers and bodyguards of these members, Honorable Speaker. Their arrears from January to date, Honorable Speaker. And in that respect, I request the National Treasury that they expedite in releasing the exchequer that we have added for the arrears of the bodyguards and drivers, because these are people who have families they need to take care of. They have needs, Honorable Speaker, and the more the reason, just like any other civil servant, we were able to put in the arrears for the bodyguards and drivers so that they get their due arrears from January to date so that they can go about their business in an efficient manner. Having said that, Honorable Speaker, I now wish to request the Honorable Mary Emase I beg to move, Honorable Speaker, having given those points, having said that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and request the Honorable Majority Leader to second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.